It was supposed to be a day of joy, a celebration of love that would echo through the years. Derek and Leah had planned every detail of their wedding meticulously, from the floral arrangements to the carefully selected playlist that would accompany their first dance as husband and wife. Friends and family gathered, their faces beaming with happiness as they watched the couple exchange vows in a picturesque garden setting, surrounded by blooming flowers and twinkling fairy lights. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene lay a web of secrets and unspoken truths that would soon unravel in the most tragic way imaginable. Derek stood at the altar, his heart racing not from excitement, but from a deep-seated anxiety that gnawed at him. He glanced at Leah, radiant in her white gown, her eyes sparkling with love and trust. She had no idea what was brewing in Derek's mind, thoughts of Taran, his best man and confidant, who stood just a few feet away. Taran's presence was both a comfort and a torment. Their friendship had blossomed over years of shared experiences, but recently it had taken a turn into dangerous territory. What had begun as innocent camaraderie had morphed into something far more complicated, an affair that threatened to destroy everything Derek held dear. As the ceremony unfolded, Derek felt each word he spoke weigh heavily on him. "I do." Those two simple words felt like shackles locking him into a life he wasn't sure he wanted anymore. He could see Taran's expression shift between pride and pain, a silent acknowledgement of the betrayal they both knew was taking place. The air was thick with tension. Guests smiled and cheered, completely oblivious to the turmoil brewing just below the surface. After the ceremony concluded, laughter filled the air as guests congratulated the newlyweds and raised glasses in celebration. But as Derek and Leah made their way to their bridal suite later that evening, an unsettling feeling settled over him. Leah was radiant, her excitement palpable as she recounted moments from their wedding day. Yet Derek's mind was elsewhere, lost in thoughts of Taran and the choices he had made leading up to this moment. Later that night, as Leah drifted off to sleep beside him, Derek lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. The weight of his secret felt suffocating. He knew he should be reveling in the joy of his new marriage, but instead, he felt trapped between two worlds, one filled with love for Leah and another consumed by desire for Taran. The clock ticked loudly in the silence of the room, each second amplifying his internal conflict. Suddenly, he couldn't take it anymore. With quiet determination, he slipped out of bed and quietly made his way down the hallway towards Taran's room. It was late. Everyone else was asleep or lost in their own celebrations. As he approached Taran's door, his heart raced, not just from fear of being caught, but from an overwhelming sense of longing mixed with guilt. What would happen when they were finally alone? Would they confront their feelings, or would it all come crashing down? Meanwhile, Leah stirred awake moments later to find Derek missing from their bed. A chill ran down her spine as she sensed something was wrong. She quietly slipped out of bed and followed her instincts down the dimly lit hallway toward Taran's suite. As she approached the slightly ajar door, she could hear muffled voices inside, Derek's voice mingling with Taran's. What she discovered next would change everything, a scene she could never have imagined unfolding before her eyes. In that moment, love turned into betrayal, trust shattered into pieces, and what began as a joyous celebration transformed into a nightmare that would leave scars far deeper than anyone could fathom. As screams echoed through the halls that night, what should have been a beautiful union became a harrowing tale of love gone wrong, a story punctuated by secrets, lies, and ultimately tragedy. Welcome to True Dark Crimes. I thank you, my viewers, especially my subscribers, for your supports as we keep improving and bringing daily told and untold true crime stories, mind-blowing murder cases, affairs, city crimes, deals, and dark crime stories. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel, comment, and share to your family and loved ones. The events of this tragic story unfolded in a picturesque suburban town, known for its serene environment and close-knit community. On January 28, 2025, the town was buzzing with excitement as it prepared for the wedding of Derek and Leah, a couple that everyone believed was destined for a fairy tale ending. The sun shone brightly that morning, casting an idyllic glow over the venue where their ceremony would take place. Friends and family had gathered to witness what they thought would be the beginning of a beautiful journey together. Little did they know, This day would become infamous for reasons no one could have anticipated. Derek was charming and charismatic, a man who had always been admired by those around him. Leah, his bride, was the epitome of grace and beauty, her infectious laughter lighting up any room she entered. They were the couple everyone aspired to be, perfectly matched in love and ambition. Then there was Taran, Derek's best man, who had been by Derek's side through thick and thin. Their friendship had weathered many storms, but it had also crossed into uncharted territory, a secret affair that would soon unravel their lives. In recent years, the town had seen its fair share of love stories blossom into marriages that lasted a lifetime. However, beneath this facade of happiness lay the complexities of human emotions, jealousy, desire, and betrayal often simmering just below the surface. The societal expectations surrounding marriage added pressure on couples to maintain an image of perfection, often leading to hidden truths that could fester until they exploded into public view. In Derek's case, the pressure to conform to this ideal weighed heavily on him as he grappled with his feelings for Taran while preparing to marry Leah. This story is significant not only because it involves betrayal at such an intimate level, but also because it highlights how hidden desires can lead to devastating consequences. The events that transpired on that fateful night serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of living a double life, a reminder that secrets can destroy even the strongest bonds. As the wedding day approached, tensions escalated between Derek and Taran, creating an atmosphere thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. What should have been a celebration of love morphed into a tragic narrative that would leave scars on everyone involved. As guests arrived at the venue, laughter filled the air, but for Derek, each smile felt like a reminder of his impending doom. He stood in front of the altar with Leah beside him, her eyes filled with love and trust, a trust he knew he was betraying. Taran's presence loomed large. He was both a symbol of Derek's past and a reminder of the choices he had made that led them all here. As they exchanged vows under the bright sun, Derek's mind drifted back to their last encounter, an evening filled with passion and guilt that had changed everything between him and Taran. That night had been electric. It was as if they were finally giving in to feelings they had suppressed for far too long. But now those feelings were haunting him like ghosts in the shadows. Leah's dreams of a perfect wedding day were about to collide with harsh reality. She believed wholeheartedly in their love story. She envisioned a future filled with happiness and shared dreams. Yet unbeknownst to her, Derek was standing at a crossroads, torn between his commitment to her and his undeniable connection to Taran. As they moved through the ceremony, each moment punctuated by laughter from friends and family, Derek felt trapped in his own life. He could see Taran's strained smile from across the aisle. Every glance exchanged between them was heavy with meaning, a silent acknowledgement of their shared secret that threatened to unravel everything. The significance of this case lies not just in its tragic outcome, but also in what it reveals about human nature, the lengths people will go to hide their true selves from those they love most. As Derek took Leah's hand in marriage, he silently vowed to protect her from the truth he could no longer bear. But as history has shown time and again, secrets have a way of surfacing when least expected. With each passing moment during the reception, the clinking of glasses, heartfelt speeches made by friends, the tension between Derek and Taran grew more palpable. Leah remained blissfully unaware as she danced with her new husband, believing wholeheartedly in their future together. But as night fell over the town, darkness crept into their lives, a darkness born from secrets too heavy to carry alone. The wedding night promised intimacy and connection, but instead became a battleground for emotions long suppressed. This story serves as a stark reminder: love can be one of life's greatest gifts, but also one of its most dangerous weapons when intertwined with betrayal. As we explore further into this tragic tale, we will uncover how choices made in moments of weakness can lead to irrevocable consequences, transforming what should have been a joyous occasion into one marked by sorrow and loss. As the sun rose on January 28, 2025, the excitement in the air was palpable. Derek and Leah had been planning their wedding for months, and today was finally the day they would say "I do." Friends and family arrived early at the beautiful garden venue, adorned with flowers and twinkling lights, ready to witness the union of two seemingly perfect souls. But as guests mingled, sipping champagne and sharing laughter, Derek was consumed by a gnawing anxiety that he couldn't shake off. The weight of his secret affair with Tehran loomed over him like a dark cloud threatening to burst. In the days leading up to the wedding, Derek and Tehran had shared stolen moments, quick texts and hushed conversations filled with longing and regret. They both knew that what they were doing was wrong, yet they couldn't resist the magnetic pull towards each other. Derek had tried to convince himself that marrying Leah would help him move on from Tehran, but deep down, he knew that their connection was too strong to sever completely. On the eve of the wedding, Derek found himself alone with Tehran in a quiet corner of the venue. They exchanged a few words filled with tension, each one laced with unspoken emotions. As they stood there, it became clear that their relationship had reached a tipping point. Derek felt torn between his love for Leah and his undeniable attraction to Tehran, a conflict that would soon spiral out of control. As the ceremony began, Derek's heart raced. He watched Leah walk down the aisle, her beauty radiating as she approached him. He felt a momentary rush of love for her, but quickly pushed it aside as thoughts of Tehran flooded back in. The vows exchanged felt like chains binding him to a life he wasn't sure he wanted anymore. As they kissed for the first time as husband and wife, Derek's mind drifted back to Tehran, what he would be doing at that very moment if things were different. The reception was filled with laughter and joy, but for Derek, each toast and celebration felt like a reminder of his impending doom. He noticed Tehran standing at a distance, his expression unreadable as he raised a glass in honor of the couple. The tension between them was thick enough to cut with a knife. Both men were acutely aware of what lay beneath the surface of this joyous occasion. Later that night, after hours of celebration, Derek and Leah retreated to their bridal suite. Leah was radiant with happiness, completely unaware of her husband's inner turmoil. As she prepared for their first night together as a married couple, Derek felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over him. He knew he couldn't hide from his feelings any longer. At approximately 11 p.m. that night, after Leah had fallen asleep beside him, Derek made a fateful decision. He slipped out of bed and quietly made his way down the hallway toward Tehran's room. Each step felt heavy with guilt and anticipation. He was about to confront not just Tehran, but also his own desires. As he approached Tehran's door, he hesitated for just a moment before pushing it open. Inside, Tehran was sitting on the edge of his bed, clearly startled by Derek's sudden appearance. The air crackled with tension as they locked eyes, two men caught in a web of emotions too complex to untangle easily. They exchanged no words initially. Instead, they stood there in silence, both knowing that this moment could change everything. But before they could speak, Leah woke suddenly from her sleep, her instincts kicking in as she sensed something was wrong. She quietly slipped out of bed and followed her intuition down the dimly lit hallway towards Tehran's room. As she approached the door slightly ajar, she heard hushed voices inside, Derek's voice mingling with Tehran's. What Leah discovered next shattered her world completely. She stepped into the room just as Derek leaned closer to Tehran, their faces inches apart as if about to share secrets meant only for each other. The sight sent shockwaves through her body, her heart raced as betrayal washed over her like ice water. In an instant, all her dreams for a happy future crumbled before her eyes. What is going on here? Leah's voice broke through the tension like thunder on a clear day. Both men turned sharply to face her, shock registered on their faces as they realized they had been caught in an act that would change everything. Derek stammered for words, but found none. All he could do was stare at Leah, the woman who had trusted him implicitly now standing before him in disbelief and hurt. Tehran looked equally lost, but also defiant. He had never intended for things to go this far, but now found himself trapped in a situation he never wanted. Leah's heart shattered as she processed what she had just witnessed, the man she loved engaged in an intimate moment with his best friend on what should have been their wedding night. Rage bubbled up inside her. She felt betrayed not just by Derek, but by Tehran too, a man she had welcomed into her life without hesitation. In an explosive confrontation filled with raw emotions, anger, heartbreak, confusion, words were exchanged that cut deep into their souls. Leah demanded answers. Derek tried to explain himself, but only stumbled over his own guilt-ridden thoughts while Turan remained silent, knowing full well that nothing he could say would ease Leah's pain. As tensions escalated further, things took a dark turn when Leah reached for her phone to call for help, or perhaps just someone who could make sense of this chaos unfolding around her. But before she could dial any numbers, Derek lunged forward in desperation, a mix of fear and adrenaline coursing through him as he tried to stop her from reaching out. In that moment of chaos, something snapped inside Turan. A mixture of jealousy and rage surged through him as he saw everything slipping away from him too. Without thinking clearly or considering the consequences of his actions, he grabbed hold of Leah's wrist tightly enough to make her drop her phone onto the floor, where it shattered upon impact. What happened next was swift and brutal. A struggle ensued between them, all fueled by emotions running high. Love turned into violence, betrayal transformed into fury, innocence lost forever in an instant. In those harrowing moments following the confrontation, screams echoed through the hallways while guests remained blissfully unaware outside, celebrating what they believed was true love. As dawn broke over January 29th, the sun rising on what should have been a new beginning instead cast light upon tragedy. The aftermath left behind would haunt everyone involved forevermore. Broken hearts scattered across an altar once filled with promises, now marred by betrayal and bloodshed. The investigation into what transpired that night would soon begin, a search for answers amidst chaos where love once thrived, but now lay shattered beyond repair. As police arrived at the scene hours later after receiving frantic calls from guests who heard commotion echoing through their rooms, what they discovered would send shockwaves throughout not only this small town but also across media platforms worldwide. A crime born from passion turned deadly on what should have been one couple's happiest day. As the sun began to rise on January 29, 2025, the once vibrant wedding venue now stood eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the joyous celebration that had taken place just hours before. The air was heavy with the weight of what had transpired. Leah, Derek, and Turan were caught in a chaotic spiral of emotions. Anger, betrayal, and fear mingled in a toxic cocktail that threatened to consume them all. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Leah's heart raced as she struggled to comprehend the reality of her shattered dreams. She felt as if she were living in a nightmare from which she could not wake. In that moment of chaos, a chilling silence enveloped the room. Derek stood frozen, his mind racing with thoughts of how everything had gone so horribly wrong. Turan's eyes darted between Leah and Derek, fear etched on his face. What had started as a passionate affair had spiraled into a situation none of them could control. And then, in an instant, everything changed again. Leah's scream pierced through the stillness, echoing off the walls like a gunshot. "What have you done?" she cried out, her voice breaking as she took in the scene before her. It was a question that hung in the air, heavy with implications. What had they all done? The weight of their choices pressed down on them like an anvil, threatening to crush any semblance of hope they had left. As police sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer with each passing second, uncertainty loomed large over the trio. What would they say? How could they explain what had happened? Derek felt his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that this moment would define their lives forever. In the chaos that ensued following Leah's scream, Turan made a desperate decision. He grabbed his phone and sent a cryptic message to Derek: "We can't let anyone know what happened." The words hung heavily in the air, each letter a reminder of their shared secret, a secret that now threatened to unravel everything they held dear. As police arrived at the scene moments later, questions flooded in like a tidal wave. Officers began to piece together what had transpired that night. Witnesses reported hearing raised voices followed by a loud crash. What had caused it? What were they hiding? Leah's emotional state was fragile. She felt trapped between her love for Derek and her anger at both men for betraying her trust. What happened here? An officer asked as he surveyed the room filled with tension. Derek fumbled for words, but found none. He could only stare at Leah's tear-streaked face filled with pain and confusion. Turan stood silently beside him, guilt etched across his features as he realized how far things had spiraled out of control. As investigators began their work, they uncovered pieces of evidence that would further complicate matters. A broken phone lay shattered on the floor, a stark reminder of Leah's desperate attempt to reach out for help before everything went dark. The officers noted the tension between Derek and Tarun. Their body language spoke volumes about their shared guilt and fear. "We need to talk to each of you separately," one investigator stated firmly, leading Leah away from the scene while another officer remained behind with Derek and Tarun. As Leah recounted her version of events, her voice trembling with emotion, the officers took notes diligently while trying to piece together the timeline. "I walked in on them together," she said, her voice breaking as she recalled the moment that shattered her world. "I don't understand how this could happen. I thought I knew him." Each word dripped with pain as she struggled to articulate her feelings, betrayal coursing through her veins like poison. Meanwhile, back in Tarun's room, Derek faced an investigator who probed deeper into their relationship. "What was your involvement with Leah?" he asked pointedly. Derek hesitated. How could he explain something so complex? He felt cornered, trapped by his own choices. "We were friends," he finally managed to say, but even he knew it was insufficient. The truth was far more complicated than mere friendship. It was laced with desire and regret, a dangerous mixture that had led them all to this moment. As news of the incident spread throughout the community, friends and family members began to piece together their own narratives about what had happened. Leah's parents were devastated. They had welcomed Derek into their family with open arms, only to find themselves reeling from betrayal. "How could he do this to our daughter?" Leah's mother cried as she clutched her husband's arm tightly. They felt helpless watching their child suffer from wounds too deep for any bandage to heal. Derek's family faced their own turmoil as well. They had always seen him as a model son, a man destined for greatness who would marry his high school sweetheart. Now they were left grappling with shame and confusion over how things could have gone so wrong. Tarun's family remained oblivious to his involvement in this tragic tale. He had always been seen as the good friend who supported Derek through thick and thin. But now secrets threatened not only his reputation but also his future. As investigators continued their work throughout the day, dramatic pauses punctuated conversations filled with tension, the kind that leaves hearts racing and minds spinning with possibilities. "Where were you when it happened?" an officer asked Tarun pointedly during questioning, a question that hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Tarun swallowed hard. Every second felt like an eternity as he contemplated how much truth he could reveal without implicating himself further. I was just outside," he stammered, avoiding eye contact as guilt washed over him like cold water. The officer raised an eyebrow skeptically. There was something about Tarun's demeanor that didn't sit right with him, an underlying tension that suggested more than met the eye. As night fell over January 29th, the investigation continued into uncharted territory filled with unanswered questions lingering like shadows around every corner. What truly happened during those chaotic moments? Would secrets be revealed or buried deeper than before? And most importantly, would justice prevail for Leah amidst all this turmoil? Just when it seemed like answers might finally surface, a sudden knock echoed through the precinct doors as new evidence arrived. CCTV footage from nearby security cameras capturing glimpses of events leading up to that fateful night. A collective gasp filled the room as officers gathered around screens displaying grainy images, each frame revealing snippets of movement just outside Tarun's sweet moments before chaos erupted inside. What did this footage reveal? Who else might have been involved? And would it ultimately lead them closer toward understanding what really transpired on that tragic night? The suspense hung thick in the air like fog rolling in from offshore, a reminder that every detail mattered as they sought clarity amidst confusion. With each passing hour came new revelations threatening to alter perceptions about everyone involved, relationships strained under pressure while emotions simmered beneath surface-level interactions waiting for release. As investigators pieced together fragments from witness statements alongside emerging evidence, the truth loomed just out of reach. A tantalizing mystery begging to be unraveled while hearts raced anxiously toward resolution or despair depending upon which path unfolded next. As the dust settled on that fateful night, investigators began piecing together the chaotic events that had transpired in Tarun's suite. The first clue emerged from the shattered remains of Leah's phone, which lay on the floor, a symbol of her desperate attempt to reach out for help. Officers carefully collected the pieces, hoping to recover any data that could provide insight into her state of mind just before the confrontation. What had she intended to do? Who was she trying to call? Witness statements began pouring in from wedding guests who had heard the commotion. One guest, a close friend of Leah's named Sarah, recounted, "I heard shouting coming from down the hall. At first, I thought it was just part of the celebration, but then it escalated. It sounded like someone was in trouble." Another witness described seeing Derek pacing anxiously outside his room shortly before the chaos erupted. He looked like he was having a panic attack. "I didn't think much of it at the time, but now it makes sense." These accounts painted a picture of a man on the brink of emotional collapse. As police began to interview Derek and Turan separately, each man's demeanor raised further questions. Derek appeared withdrawn and anxious, avoiding eye contact as he spoke about the events leading up to Leah's discovery. His responses were fragmented and disjointed, revealing a man grappling with guilt and fear. Turan, on the other hand, seemed defensive, his body language tense as he tried to deflect questions about his relationship with Derek and Leah. Forensic teams arrived on the scene to gather evidence that could shed light on what had happened during those critical moments. They meticulously examined Turan's suite for any signs of struggle or violence. A broken lamp lay on the floor, its shade shattered. Could this have been a result of an altercation? Investigators noted a faint trace of blood on the edge of the nightstand. It was unclear whose blood it was or how it had gotten there. "We need to test this," one officer remarked as they collected samples for analysis. "It could be crucial in determining what happened here." As they worked through the night, they also discovered a discarded piece of fabric caught on a jagged edge of furniture, a small but significant clue that hinted at a struggle. Meanwhile, CCTV footage from nearby cameras became a focal point of the investigation. Detectives reviewed hours of footage captured around the wedding venue and surrounding areas. They hoped to find anything that might indicate suspicious behavior or movements leading up to the confrontation. What they found was both intriguing and unsettling. Derek could be seen leaving his bridal suite shortly after midnight, heading towards Turan's room with purpose. The footage showed him glancing around nervously before entering. What was going through his mind at that moment? And why did he feel compelled to leave Leah behind? As investigators continued their work, they interviewed more witnesses who had been present during the wedding festivities. One guest recalled seeing Turan slip away from the reception for several minutes before returning looking flustered. "He seemed off," she said. "Like he was trying to hide something." This statement raised eyebrows among detectives. What had Turan been up to during that time? Another witness reported overhearing a heated conversation between Derek and Turan earlier in the evening. "They were arguing about something," she recalled. "I couldn't hear everything, but it sounded serious." This revelation added another layer of complexity to their already tangled web of relationships. As more pieces fell into place, investigators began to suspect that this wasn't just a simple case of infidelity gone wrong. There were deeper issues at play, issues rooted in jealousy, betrayal, and possibly even premeditated actions. Just when it seemed like they were getting closer to understanding what had happened that night, another piece of evidence emerged, a cryptic note found crumpled in Turan's jacket pocket during a search at the police station. The note contained hastily scribbled phrases: "Don't let her find out," "We can't go back now," and "It has to end tonight." What did these words mean? Were they simply remnants of panic or something more sinister? The note raised more questions than answers. As investigators delved deeper into Turan's background, they uncovered troubling information about his past relationships, patterns of obsession and possessiveness that painted him in an increasingly negative light. Was he capable of violence? Had he crossed a line that night? The thought sent chills down their spines as they considered what might have transpired behind closed doors. With each new revelation came an escalating sense of urgency. Time was running out for Leah as she lay recovering from emotional trauma while grappling with her feelings for Derek and betrayal by Turan. Days turned into weeks as forensic teams worked tirelessly to analyze samples collected from the scene. Finally, results began rolling in, traces of blood found on the nightstand matched Leah's DNA profile, confirming she had been injured during whatever confrontation had taken place that night. But there was more. Investigators also discovered fingerprints on various surfaces throughout Turan's suite, some belonging to Derek, but others belonging to an unknown individual entirely. Who else had been involved in this chaotic night? As detectives dug deeper into this mystery surrounding their relationships, each layer revealing darker secrets, they couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling. Someone else might be pulling strings behind the scenes. Then came another shocking twist. A witness came forward claiming they had seen someone lurking near Turan's suite just before all hell broke loose, someone who didn't belong there at all. Could this stranger have played a role in escalating tensions between Derek and Turan? Or were they merely an innocent bystander caught up in something far larger than themselves? The suspense hung thick in the air as investigators raced against time to uncover every detail before it slipped through their fingers like sand. As investigators continued their work amidst growing pressure from media outlets clamoring for answers, the final piece fell into place when forensic teams analyzed CCTV footage once more and discovered something startling. Just moments before Derek entered Turan's room that night, a shadowy figure could be seen lingering outside, a figure whose identity remained shrouded in mystery. Who was this person? What role did they play in this tragic tale? And how would their involvement change everything we thought we knew about love, betrayal, and ultimately, murder? As detectives prepared for yet another round of questioning, this time focusing on potential suspects beyond just Derek and Turan, the tension reached its peak. Answers were finally within reach. But would they be enough to bring justice for Leah amidst all this chaos? With each passing moment filled with uncertainty, the stakes grew higher than ever before as everyone involved braced themselves for revelations that would alter lives forevermore. As the investigation progressed, twists began to emerge that would challenge everything everyone thought they knew about the night of January 28, 2025. Just when it seemed like the case was heading toward a straightforward conclusion, new evidence came to light that turned the narrative on its head. The first major twist occurred when forensic teams analyzed the blood found on the nightstand in Turan's suite. Initial tests indicated that it belonged to Leah, but further analysis revealed a surprising detail. There were traces of another person's DNA mixed in with Leah's blood. Who was this unknown individual? What were they doing in Turan's room that night? The questions hung heavy in the air, each one deepening the mystery surrounding the events of that evening. As investigators dug deeper into Turan's background, they uncovered a series of unexpected connections. Turan had been involved in a secretive online community that discussed relationships and infidelity, an unusual interest for someone who was supposed to be a loyal friend. This revelation raised eyebrows among detectives. Could Turan have been part of a larger scheme involving manipulation and deceit? Meanwhile, Derek's behavior during questioning became increasingly erratic. He seemed to struggle with his emotions, oscillating between remorse for Leah and anger toward Turan. When pressed about his relationship with Turan, he blurted out, "I never wanted it to go this far. I just wanted to be free." This outburst shocked investigators. What did he mean by wanting to be free? Was there more to their relationship than anyone had realized? Days later, as detectives continued their investigation, they received an anonymous tip that led them to an unexpected discovery: a hidden storage unit rented under Turan's name. Inside, they found items that sent chills down their spines, photographs of Leah taken without her knowledge, along with journals detailing Turan's feelings for both Derek and Leah. One entry read, "I can't let her have him. I need to make him see that we belong together." This revelation painted a disturbing picture of obsession and jealousy. Was Turan willing to go to extreme lengths to keep Derek for himself? The implications were staggering. It seemed there was much more at stake than just a love triangle. As investigators processed this new evidence, they began to question whether Turan had acted alone or if there was someone else involved in this tangled web of emotions. The idea that he might have conspired with someone else sent shockwaves through the investigation team. Who could be pulling the strings behind this tragic affair? As the case progressed toward trial, shocking revelations continued to surface. During pretrial hearings, Leah made a surprising decision. She chose not to testify against Derek or Tarun. Her reasons remained unclear, leaving many speculating about her motivations. Was she still holding onto feelings for Derek despite the betrayal? Or was she afraid of what revealing too much might mean for her own future? The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as everyone awaited her explanation. Then came another twist. During cross-examination of witnesses, it was revealed that Leah had been secretly communicating with Derek even after the incident. Text messages surfaced showing her reaching out to him weeks after the wedding night incident, messages filled with longing and confusion. "I don't know what happened," one message read. "I just want things back to how they were." This revelation stunned everyone. How could she still want him after everything that had transpired? As investigators continued their work, they uncovered further evidence suggesting that Tarun had been manipulating both Derek and Leah throughout their relationships. A series of emails between Tarun and an unknown individual hinted at a plan to drive a wedge between Derek and Leah, a plan that involved using Derek's insecurities against him. One email read, "You need to make him realize he can't have both of you. It's time for him to choose." Who was this mysterious figure encouraging such destructive behavior? The twists kept coming as detectives tried to unravel this tangled web of deceit. Just when it seemed like they were closing in on answers, another shocking detail emerged. Tarun had been living under an alias for years, hiding his true identity from everyone around him. His real name was revealed during background checks, a name linked to several incidents involving stalking and harassment in previous relationships. As the trial date approached, tension reached a boiling point when an unexpected witness came forward, someone who claimed to have seen Tarun leaving his suite just moments before Leah confronted Derek inside. This witness described seeing someone else with him, a shadowy figure whose identity remained unknown. "I didn't think much of it at first," the witness explained nervously on the stand. "But then I saw them arguing outside. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it looked serious." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Who could this mysterious accomplice be? And what role did they play in this tragic story? With each twist and turn, the case grew more complex, leaving everyone involved grappling with unanswered questions. Was there a deeper conspiracy at play? Had love turned into something darker than anyone could have imagined? As investigators pieced together these shocking revelations, the stakes grew higher than ever before. Justice hung in the balance, while secrets threatened to unravel everything once thought known about love and betrayal. As the trial loomed closer, the final pieces began falling into place, but would they be enough to bring justice for Leah amidst all this chaos? With every new revelation came heightened suspense. All eyes turned toward finding answers hidden within shadows, where truth lay buried beneath layers of deception waiting patiently for discovery. As tensions mounted within both courtroom walls and outside, media coverage intensified, one thing became clear: this story was far from over. Twists awaited at every corner as investigators raced against time, seeking closure amidst heartbreak and betrayal intertwined forevermore. As the trial began in early April 2025, the courtroom was packed with spectators eager to witness the unraveling of a case that had captured national attention. The tension was palpable as both sides presented their arguments, each revealing new layers of complexity surrounding the events of that fateful night. The prosecution aimed to paint Tarun as a manipulative figure who had orchestrated a series of events leading to Leah's emotional and physical harm, while the defense argued that Derek was equally complicit in the chaos that ensued. Key evidence emerged during the trial, including the blood samples that had been analyzed. The forensic report confirmed that Leah's blood was indeed present in Tarun's suite, but it also revealed the presence of another person's DNA, one that had yet to be identified. This revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom, raising questions about whether there had been a third party involved in the altercation. As testimonies unfolded, Leah took to the stand, her voice trembling as she recounted her experience. "I felt betrayed by both of them. I thought I was marrying a man who loved me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "But to find him with Tarun on our wedding night shattered my world." Her emotional testimony resonated with jurors, drawing them deeper into the complexities of love and betrayal. Then came a pivotal moment in the trial, an unexpected witness stepped forward, a former friend of Tehran's who claimed he had seen Tehran arguing with someone outside his suite just before Leah confronted Derek. It was dark, but I could see two figures, he testified. I didn't recognize either of them, but they were definitely fighting. This revelation added another layer of intrigue. Who was this unknown individual? And what role did they play in the unfolding drama? As the prosecution continued to build its case against Tehran, they presented additional evidence that painted a troubling picture of his behavior leading up to the incident. Text messages between Tehran and an unidentified contact revealed discussions about how to handle Derek and Leah's relationship, messages filled with jealousy and resentment. You need to make him realize he can't have both, one message read. The courtroom gasped at this revelation. It suggested a premeditated intent to manipulate both Derek and Leah into a confrontation that could end badly. But just when it seemed like Tehran would be painted as the sole villain in this tragic tale, Derek's own behavior came under scrutiny. During cross-examination, it was revealed that Derek had been receiving therapy for anxiety and depression prior to the wedding, a fact he had kept hidden from Leah. I felt trapped, he admitted on the stand. I thought marrying Leah would solve everything, but it only made things worse. This admission raised eyebrows. Could Derek have been struggling with more than just his feelings for Tehran? Did his mental state contribute to the chaos that unfolded? Then came an unexpected twist. During a recess in the trial, detectives received an anonymous tip regarding Tehran's mysterious accomplice, the shadowy figure seen arguing with him outside his suite. Following up on this lead, investigators uncovered surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store showing Tehran meeting with an unknown individual just hours before the wedding festivities began. The footage showed them exchanging something, a small package, and then engaging in what appeared to be a heated discussion. Who was this person? What role did they play in this tragic affair? The implications were staggering. Could there have been a conspiracy at play beyond just Tehran's obsession? As investigators worked tirelessly to identify this new player in the drama, speculation ran rampant in the courtroom. Was this individual somehow connected to Tehran's past? Did they share a motive for wanting Derek and Leah's relationship to fail? The unanswered questions left jurors on edge as they awaited further developments. As the trial neared its conclusion, tensions reached a boiling point. The jury deliberated for days, wrestling with conflicting emotions and evidence presented throughout the proceedings. In their final moments together before rendering a verdict, jurors exchanged thoughts on what they believed truly happened that night. Was it premeditated? One juror asked quietly. Or was it all just a tragic series of events spiraling out of control? Another juror chimed in. What about that unknown person? Do we know if they were involved? The questions lingered like ghosts haunting their deliberations. Answers remained elusive. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the jury reached their verdict. Tehran was found guilty of aggravated assault against Leah but acquitted of any charges related to murder or attempted murder. The jury believed he acted out of passion rather than premeditation, a decision that left many stunned. Derek faced his own reckoning. While he wasn't charged criminally for his actions that night, he was left grappling with guilt and shame over how everything had unfolded. Leah struggled with her own emotions, caught between love for Derek and anger toward both men for betraying her trust. In the aftermath of the trial, unanswered questions continued to haunt everyone involved. Who was the mysterious figure seen arguing with Tehran? What were their intentions? And how did they fit into this tragic narrative? As investigators continued their search for answers beyond those provided during court proceedings, many believed there were still secrets waiting to be uncovered. Despite some closure offered by the verdict, many felt unsatisfied. Justice seemed incomplete without understanding every aspect of what transpired on that fateful night. Leah vowed to continue seeking answers, not just for herself but also for others who might find themselves entangled in similar situations where love turned toxic and betrayal led down dark paths. As we reflect on this complex tale filled with love, betrayal, and unanswered questions, we invite you to share your thoughts. What do you think happened between Derek and Tehran? Who do you believe played a role in shaping these tragic events? Was justice truly served? Join us as we continue exploring this story. Together we can unravel more mysteries hidden within its depths. Though some pieces may have fallen into place, many remain shrouded in uncertainty. Perhaps only time will reveal further truths waiting patiently beneath layers of emotion intertwined forevermore. As we conclude this gripping tale of love, betrayal, and the quest for justice, we want to hear from you. This story has captivated hearts and minds, revealing the complexities of human relationships and the devastating consequences that can arise from hidden truths. If you found this case as chilling and thought-provoking as we did, now is your chance to engage with us and share your thoughts. Did you resonate with Leah's struggle to navigate her feelings of betrayal? Or perhaps you empathized with Derek's internal conflict as he grappled with his choices. What about Tehran? Do you believe he acted out of obsession or desperation? We invite you to share your theories and insights in the comments below. Your voice matters, and together we can explore the depths of this tragic narrative. If you're eager to stay updated on future stories that delve into the darker corners of human nature, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our community of true crime enthusiasts who are just as passionate about uncovering the truth as you are. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new content that challenges our understanding of justice and morality. And if you know someone who would find this story compelling, share it with them. Spreading awareness not only helps us grow, but also keeps the conversation alive about important issues surrounding relationships, trust, and betrayal. Let's keep these discussions going. Together, we can shine a light on stories that deserve to be told. Finally, we want to hear your theories. Who do you think was truly responsible for the chaos that unfolded on that fateful night? Was there more at play than what was revealed in court? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's unravel this mystery together. And remember, your engagement helps us continue bringing these captivating stories to life. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a tale filled with intrigue and emotion. We look forward to hearing from you and hope you'll be back for our next exploration into the world of true crime.